Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this, the last council meeting of 2024. And it'll soon be Christmas, you understand. We are not expecting any fire alarms, but if it does go off, please use the exit doors and make your way to the car park, at the end of the car park. And also, can everyone turn their mobiles off or put them on silent, please, because it's a bit off-putting for amateurs like me. Lovely. Right, this is the first council meeting since the passing, and I would call on the meeting to observe a minute's reflection on memory of Mr. Brian Boughton, Townstow ward member from 23 to 27. So if we can have a minute's silence, please.
Bernard, just a separate comment.
Yes.
I'd just like to say that Brian Boughton and I worked hard for Dartmouth and Ardpatch for a number of years. We had very different political views, but we worked very, very well together. He was a hard-working town councillor and a South Hams district councillor, and I'd really like to send my love to his family, which I've done obviously before, but he was a great representative for Dartmouth.
Thank you, Councillor. Can we now move into the moment's silence, please? Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. But we carry on with the agenda. First of all, Darryl, any apologies, please?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, members. We do have some apologies this morning's meeting from Councillors Thomas, O'Callaghan and Hopwood. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Well, you've got one set of minutes to approve as a true and correct record. Can I have a proposal for that, please, for that for the 26th of September? Nobody. Yeah. Seconder. Thank you. Urgent business. I have no items to be raised. Exempt information. There should be no need to divide the agenda. I would invite members now, if I may, please, to disclose any pecuniary or other registered interest that's going to come up on the agenda, please. There is none. Thank you. Business to be brought forward by the chairman. I don't think there's one item, I believe, that I've brought forward, and that's on the South West Water one. No, sorry, the dentistry, and that was brought forward. So I agreed to allow that to come in because it's now a year on since it was passed through the council. So I think it's only fair that we should revisit that one and see where we are with it. And I think Councillor Yardy can introduce this and give us a brief noting on that, please.
Well, I'll try to be very brief. NHS Devon 1 are unable to support the No Frills Dentistry pilot. In conjunction, we have non-performing NHS dental contracts, poor performing NHS dental contracts in Dartmouth, which is leading to residents not being able to access these services. I'm particularly appalled by the fact that children are being pushed into literally a black hole in dentistry. They're not receiving the services that they need. All children and our residents should have access to dental services in the same way that we access GP services. And that should be across our region and across the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions to be asked on this one, please? Councillor Yardy? No. Yeah, this is for noting. So are we happy to do that? Because there's a recommendation.
On the board, endorse the briefing note.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Councillor.
First of all, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much indeed for allowing this item to be brought forward. And I think a special thanks should go to Councillor Yardy for all the time and effort that he's put into pursuing this, and I think he should be commended. In supporting this recommendation, I think it's an onward crusade to seek to bring about better dentistry provision within South Hams. So this is just part one. Part 2, 3 and 4, and hopefully the finale won't take too long. So I'm more than happy to support the recommendation that's on the screen.
Thank you. Have we a seconder for that, please? Lots of people. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Now we can move into debate if members wish to do that. So have we got anybody that would like to start a debate on this one? Yes, Councillor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Well, just briefly, it seems very disappointing that the nose frill service can't proceed, and I think that should be the focus of our attention, really, moving forwards, is to try and understand that and to try and overcome the hurdles, which are, as far as I understand, more procedural and administrative than financial or with regard to the number of dentists available in the region. So I hope we can try and work out a process or mechanism to knock down that particular wall and give dentistry, or give access to dentists to the local community. Thank you.
Can I ask a question, please, as well? Have we had any movement since we brought this up a year ago? Can somebody answer that for me, please?
So if I may say, our local MP did ask questions in Parliament about the contracts that exist regarding NHS dentistry, and I understand that the Darcy review is taking place, and I understand that the stabilisation programme that was announced by the NHS is being reviewed. We await the results of that review, and I would like to think that that would provide solutions to the lack of dentistry we have here in South Hams. But I await the timetable and I await the funding that is required to make this work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Any other questions? John?
Not so much a question as just to seek to answer your question, in that there have been several meetings between us. When I say us, that's Councillor Yardy, myself, with the representatives from the NHS, and in fact the paper before reports on a meeting that took place on the 11th of November. And what is quite interesting in the report that arises out of the meeting in November is that the NHS Devon ICB are going to come up with a list of 3 items that they would ask us to lobby MPs with, so that their service can be improved. In other words, we have effectively a government body asking us to lobby on their behalf to bring about improvements in their service, which in my mind is quite a state of affairs when you have a government body asking councillors to lobby on their behalf to improve their service. And I think that says a lot about the way that this service is being run. So in answer to your question, there have been meetings, there will be further meetings. So as I mentioned earlier, this is an ongoing process.
Thank you very much. Councillor Presswell, did you want to ask a question?
Actually, thank you. I was going to reiterate what Councillor Birch said about we need to all consider not really playing the waiting game and lobbying our MPs constantly about this. The other thing I was going to say was, which has slipped my mind completely. Sorry, I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much. Any further questions? No. Any amendments to this? No amendments. Thank you very much. Councillor Presswell's back. She remembers what she had to say now.
Yes, it was a moment. Just to clarify that a timeline of answers to some of Councillor Yardy's questions to them has been put in place, which I think is very important. And so, you know, he and others are keeping on top of how quickly they respond to things and that we get answers in good process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, right, we vote on this one now, if we may, please. So are we all in favour of this new paper? Thank you very much, I think. Not planning.
That is
Jackie,
unanimous for the briefing note recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Keep forgetting to put my microphone on. We now go to public question time. There's 2 public questions that have been received, and in accordance with the procedure rules that are set out on the screens. We got one from Mr. Christopher Wood. Chair, Mr. Wood's not in attendance, I take it? No? So perhaps Darryl, do you ask this question? Or?
Yeah, I think the leader's going to respond to the question as per the screens, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll vote leader.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to say that to Mr. Wood that appreciate your concerns, and obviously the Development Management Committee spent 8 hours debating it, but it's been deferred, and as such is a live application, and it would be inappropriate for this council to make any statement regarding that. I mean, it's a quasi-judicial process, and if we did say anything, we could well find ourselves falling foul of procedural rules and be open to judicial review. So sounds a bit like a cop-out, but I'm afraid that we can't say anything about that. And just personally, I'd like to thank the DMC committee for all the hard work they do, and no doubt they've got a few more hours to discuss and soul searching to discuss this application before they come to a conclusion. Thank you. But I'd also just to say that I know that Nikki and Chris will be making sure that their representations of local people are heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. Second question is from Mr. Grocock, who is actually with us. So if you'd like to read your question to us, please.
Why, in some cases, is council tax written off without any action, including loaning of services?
Let's start from the beginning.
Shall I start again?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll start at the beginning. Why, in some cases, is council tax debt written off without any action, including withholding of services, been taken against the debtors, and might this inaction encourage others to make a similar lifestyle choice?
Answer that one if you would, please.
Yes, I mean, there was a very clear paper about debt write-off at the last executive when Mr. Grocott was present, I think. It is just inaccurate to say that we don't take any action. We have an excellent department and often we do take summonses to magistrates' court. And then if a liability order is granted, we will continue to pursue the debt unless there's another option than to write it off. In some cases, if somebody declares bankruptcy or takes a voluntary position, the law says that we can't pursue the debt, so we don't. And can I just say, I really do find the tone of this question rather offensive, actually, when we talk about lifestyle choices. I think it was, I can't remember which odious politician it was who declared that people going to food banks was a lifestyle choice. I think it was one of yours, actually. Yeah. Can I just say that I don't, it's not what this council is about. Perhaps Mr. Grocott would like to spend less time reading the Daily Mail and more time reading things like reading something showing a bit more contrition, talking about forgiveness, understanding, tolerance, and redemption, rather than picking on some of the most vulnerable people in our communities. It's certainly not what this council is about. And if he wants to do that, then so be it.
Chairman, I feel that
No, sorry.
No, I'll let Mr. Grocott come back if he wants to.
I really feel that some explanation is... Oh, beg your pardon. No, I feel I've been totally misunderstood, Mr. Chairman. No, I'm not speaking about vulnerable people. I'm speaking about people who have, who do not accept the concept of council tax and deliberately do not pay it. I'm not talking about those who can't afford to pay. I'm not talking about vulnerable people. I'm very offended by that chap's remarks. That is not me at all. But there are people out there, I know, who make a deliberate decision not to pay their council tax. And they do so because they feel there's nothing that can be done about it. And these are the sort of people...
Yeah, Mr. Grocott, I think you've made your point now.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, but I was really offended.
We've allowed you to come back.
Yes, that's very kind of you.
Thank you very much for your
question.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your question.
Well, of course, Mr. Grocott, if you've got any examples of those, then please bring them forward to this council. If you've got any examples, that's all I'm saying. You say that you know there are. Bring those examples forward and we'll take them to action. Can I just say that you're offended, I'm offended, that you turn up at this council and ask a question that deliberately vilifies and undoes people who find themselves, through no fault of their own in many cases, cannot afford to do it. And if you can't see that and you use that deliberate pejorative thing about a lifestyle choice, I find that offensive. And I suggest that you don't do it. And if you don't like it, then don't come back to this council and ask odious questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's time we moved on now. Thank you very much for your question. But we need to move on, so thank you for that. Item 7, polling district and polling places review. This is introduced by Councillor Brazil, the leader again. Thank you, Councillor.
Right, thank you, Chair. This is a technical paper that we really, I mean, obviously we need to have polling stations that allow people to get access to it and doesn't cause disruption to other members of the community. So we have to review this. So I hope that everything in place. Just to say that the parishes are all consulted on this. So hopefully we come out with the right thing.
Thank you very much. Any questions on this one, please? No. Thank you. Is there anybody that wishes to speak at all on this one? No. I'm a proposer.
Yeah, I'll propose.
Yeah, can I have a seconder, please? John Birch, Councillor Birch. Can we all vote on this, please? Lovely, that's unanimous. Right, thank you.
That's clearly carried. Thank you, Chair.
Come on, keep up, Carol. Right, thank you very much. Oh, it did. Item 8, 3-yearly review on gambling statement of licensing principles. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say that this is a statutory requirement that we have statement of gambling principles in place and up to date, and this statement satisfies that requirement. I'd like to thank the licensing team for their hard and diligent work in preparing it, and wouldn't commend it to the council, noting in passing that the scope that we have for fine-tuning our management of gambling principles is limited, and but I think where we have such scope, we've used it wisely.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ray. Any questions on this one, please? No questions. A proposer for this one, please.
I'm happy to propose that the recommendations on screen.
Love it, Jed. Yeah. So you need to vote on this one now, please. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Plenty of time.
That's unanimous, Chair. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Darryl. Right, item 9. Reports of bodies. Development management on the 5th of September. Councillor Long.
Chairman, I'd like to present the minutes of the Development Management Committee of the 5th of September for noting.
Thank you very much, all noted. You again, Councillor Long. This is for the 3rd of October.
Yeah, Chairman, I'd like to present the minutes of the Development Management Committee of the 3rd of October, again for noting, and so move. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Noted. Now we go on to executive, and Councillor Brazil to present, please.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'll present the minutes for noting, but also there are a series of recommendations. So I'll take the first recommendation, if that's okay, and that is that the council has recommended to make a transfer of £500,000 from the business rates retention earmark reserve to fund the majority of the predicted overspend on the 24-25 base budget. This is because we're finding ourselves coming under revenue pressure for a number of reasons, but in order that we have a balanced budget at the end of the year, this is necessary.
Thank you very much. That's just for noting as well. So
no.
Recommendations on the screen.
Oh yeah, I can't read the screen. Too far away. Yeah.
Two recommendations.
Yeah. Councillor Brazil proposing with a seconder on that one, please. Councillor Bonham. You all in favour?
That's number 1.
That's recommendation 1.
Those abstaining.
23 in favour. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah. Anybody against?
None against, Chair.
Abstentions?
2 abstentions.
Thank you very much. Right, good. Right, we got another recommendation now. Seems to lost.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, there's a series of recommendations here. The first part of them is about our vehicle replacement, and that we need to. That's the one. Yeah, that we need to. Our refuse vehicles are in some of them are in a terrible state and need replacing. For me, this illustrates the fact that we probably haven't been transferring enough into our vehicle replacement reserve. So as a result, we've got to borrow money from the Public Works Loan Board. It has been this has all been put into our base budget, so we will be paying the interest and capital return over the 9 years. But I think it's absolutely crucial that we need to do that in order to have it will save us money, both in breakdown of vehicles and the repair of them. So I think it's absolutely crucial that we do that. Recommendation 4, which I hope people will think is good news, that we are using £170,000 from our climate change and biodiversity budget in order to take 17 diesel vans off the road and replace them with 17 electric vehicles. So I don't know if people want to split those up or take them all together. I'm happy to move all 4 there, Chairman.
We're happy to move them all together. I think it makes sense. Good job. Right. So we got a proposal for this.
Yeah, I'll propose all those
Second
recommendations.
Councillor Birch. All in favour? Oh, we've got to have a debate, apparently.
Questions. Any questions first?
I'm thinking about my lunch. Right.
Any questions?
Yeah, Councillor Bonham.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm glad that we have a little bit of debate, perhaps. I know we're keen to get to lunch, but still. Perhaps I could just ask quickly what interest rate we're likely to be paying on the Public Work Loan Board at the moment for the purchase of vehicles, because I know the rate's creeping up, and I'm just keen that we keep an eye on the interest and the repayment schedules and so on. Thank you.
Councillor Brazil, can you answer that?
I can't, but I'm sure Lisa can. 4.5%, I think I've heard. Yeah, 4.5%. Around 4.5%.
Can I just add?
Yes.
And if I can just add, it does say in the recommendation that the timing will be done on advice to get the advantage of the best possible rate as well, which I'm sure these will do.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Chairman.
Oh yeah. Sam Dennis, Councillor Dennis.
Thank you. I think Councillor Roll might have answered my question actually, but I was just a bit confused about all the different figures and different vehicles. So just a bit of clarity on, so it's 14 refuse collection vehicles, but then we talk about 17 electric vehicles. Is that vans as opposed to the refuse collection? Thank you.
Yeah, yes, that's absolutely right, Sam. So the one of the refuse vehicles initially, that's 14 of the big refuse vehicles. Unfortunately, because of the rural area we live in, they haven't actually yet developed an electric vehicle that can cover that for us. It's something, obviously, as the EV vehicles progress, then hopefully we'll be able to do that in the future. So the 17 vans are the smaller works vans that you see going around servicing public toilets or collecting rubbish. So that's the differential.
Thank you very much. Question? Other question?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify that you mentioned, Councillor Brazil, that the part of this is due to a lack of provisioning, perhaps over the past years. I'm assuming that we will not only be paying the capital repayments and interest on the loan, but we'll also be making additions to reserves for future replacements, and that there's space in the budget to do that.
Yes, we are. I don't know the exact figures, but if I could ask Lisa to come in there.
Yeah, Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Chairman. So yes, within the medium-term financial strategy, currently we make an annual contribution of 550,000 into the vehicle replacement reserve. We are recommending that that is increased in 27-28 to 100 for another 150,000. So that 550 will go up to 700,000. And for 28-29 and 29-30, we need to further increase that contribution into the reserve by 200,000. So the 3 million that we would be borrowing is enough for the fleet that we need to replace for the next couple of years, but then we do need to start increasing that reserve contribution in 27-28, and that's been factored into the 3-year medium-term financial strategy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Am I correct in thinking that we did have a nice reserve until we went into recycle, and then we did spend a lot of that reserves on the recycle vehicles because they cost us quite a lot of money at the time, and I think that was, what, 4 years ago? Mr. Mullen, you can help. Mr. Mullen, you might help me with that one.
You're right, Chairman, yes.
That was easy. That's the way. Yeah, lovely job. Any further questions? Yes. Councillor Hodgson.
Thank you. Can I just ask clarification? Is this a staggered replacement, or is it an all over, once over, clear and replace?
So this no, it's not staggered. This is, we're doing it straight off. Yeah.
Anybody else? No? Right. Anybody want to debate this one? Nobody wants to. Right, we go to the vote. We go to the vote on this one. Oh.
A question. Can you sell the old vehicles?
Only fit for the tip.
No, Steve. If you could ask Steve.
There's very little resale value. We're talking about a vehicle that costs upwards of £250,000. After we've used it for 9-10 years, it's worth about £5,000. Some of the ones that the last lot that we sold ended up going to become refuse vehicles in India. So there is a limited market, but there's not a lot of value left in them.
Thank you. Councillor, if you want to buy one, obviously you can put a bid in for it. You might be spending a lot on maintenance. Thank you very much. If no one else wants to join in the debate, we'll move to the vote. All in favour?
That's unanimous for all 4 recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Licensing now, please. A report on licensing. And this was for the 10th of October.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to present the minutes of the Licensing Committee meeting held on the 10th of October 2024 for noting.
Thank you very much. Noted. Move on now to overview and scrutiny. 17th of October. Councillor Hawkins, please.
Present the overview and scrutiny committee meeting on the 17th of October 2024 for noting. Would just like to highlight that we're still waiting from South West Water for the answers to our questions of that meeting, which I think is contemptible. We have chased them up on a number of occasions since the 17th. Obviously, we did give them a little bit of time, a couple of weeks, to actually give an answer, but to actually ignore us is really not acceptable.
Thank you. That's a report for noting as well, yeah? Yes, please, thank you. Move on now to Executive 21st of November. Councillor Brazil.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. And again, the recommendations to full council in respect of the Salcombe Harbour Board. So I'm very happy to move those recommendations, and I just wonder if Mark, as chairman of the Harbour Board, if you wanted to make any comments about the budget and the fees and charges.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Long.
I think it's self-evident people, members have seen the papers presented, that the budget is a neutral budget. We are recovering, obviously, any shortfall with changes in the fees and charges, but there's a lot of work done by the Harbour Board members in preparing this. So I would just recommend to members the proposals before you. Thank you, Chairman.
Yeah. No, so like I say, Chairman, happy to propose those recommendations to the full council.
Seconder for that, Councillor Long. You all in favour of the recommendation?
That's unanimous for our board recommendations. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. No, probably not.
Sorry.
That's right. Well, we did it anyway. Item 10, overview and scrutiny recommendation relating to South West Water. I'll ask Councillor Cooper to do this one because I think he was deputising chair that day. Oh, there he is up there.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, this is
I
recommendations
can
from the
find
overview and scrutiny panel, so I'm happy to move them. So.
Thank you. Any questions on this report?
There's a motion.
It's a recommendation.
Yeah.
So it's just for noting, is it?
No, it's for a recommendation.
Oh, yeah, it's recommendation. So, but then you need a proposal and seconder.
Yes, I'm happy to propose it.
Yeah.
Is there a seconder first?
We need a seconder first, and then you can.
Am I able to second it?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to second it.
Councillor Hawkins.
Okay, Councillor Hawkins seconded.
Question.
Right, any questions on this, please? No, so we're going. Oh, yeah, Councillor Hodgson.
Oh, sorry, is this questions or debate? Because it's a debate comment I wanted to make.
Move into debate after this. Questions first. All right. Okay, right. If there's no further questions or no questions, we will move in to the debate. And I think Councillor Hodgson wants to start this one.
Yes, I think just to briefly say that I think we need to keep the pressure up on South West Water. It's the only way we're going to try and achieve anything. And if we just expect them to suddenly, be more accommodating and more, change their ways overnight, they're not going to do it. And I think it's only by public pressure and pressure of councils like ourselves that will actually sort of hold them to account. And I think it's our duty to hold them to account, something as serious as this. Thank you. So I welcome this and I'll be supporting the recommendations.
Councillor Bonham.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I totally agree with what's been said, and it's very disappointing that South West Water didn't answer the questions we posed in the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, as is previously mentioned. And following that, we sent a letter to them asking for the questions to be answered in writing. They haven't done that. Just to take us back a little bit, we debated this in the summer. And I know Overview and Scrutiny have been discussing with South West Water these issues for even longer than that. We did write to the Chair, to the Chief Executive of South West Water on the 6th of August, and we outlined a couple of points. We asked South West Water to provide a detailed plan and timetable on how it intends to improve its water quality and environmental status to 4 stars. And we called on them to provide a detailed plan on how it intends to reduce leaks by 50% and so on. There were various other points that we made. And we got a very good answer back from the Chief Executive on the 20th of August, Susan Davies, saying that it's clear to me that there is more that South West Water could do to work with South Hams. And I've asked Richard Price, the Managing Director of Wastewater Services, to meet with you. We didn't get Richard Price coming to meet with us. We got, I think, people of a more junior level in South West Water. And so I think we should continue to put the pressure on that organisation to answer the valid questions that we and residents have. And to just strengthen the point, I'd like to put in an amendment, which is in red on the screen there, that we request the Chief Executive to come and answer herself in person to this council the questions that we've raised on several occasions now and have failed to have any adequate and full answers from that organisation, which we and the public, quite honestly, deserve and need to have. So I hope that amendment in red can be supported. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you. We've obviously jumped it a little bit here because we got the amendment now. So have I got a seconder? You're proposing the amendment. Seconder, Councillor Birch. Thank you very much. Are we in favour of that amendment? Or we got to debate? I thought we were debating. Councillor Hawkins. Councillor Hawkins, thank you.
I'm not really debating this amendment, but we do have the summit next week. I think it's next week when we go to East Devon. 12th, yep, so next week. Will the CEO be at that meeting? I don't know if anybody would know that. I mean, we can obviously hold the lady to account quite severely there.
If I may, Chairman. Yeah, my understanding is that she will be there for that. But, I mean, you know, who knows?
So we can have some fun then, hopefully.
Councillor Jackson.
Yes, I just want to bring up that at the Ovian Scrutiny meeting, when asked about how they'd improve their service, they said it would be communication. So I think they failed really miserably at that. And also at the last Kingsbridge Town Council meeting, they also had a meeting with some of the executives in South West Water over 6 months ago now, and they're still waiting for a response. So I think it's pretty appalling, and I think that should be. And we're having massive problems in Kingsbridge with flooding and, you know, and sewage leaks. So I think it's really important that they kind of improve their communication, and that's answering our questions. Thanks.
South West Water seems to be low onto themselves. Councillor Eady.
Yeah, just to add to that, I'm just trying to work out what number I'm necessarily referring to in our recommendations, but we did debate quite heavily within ONS about what our recommendations were going to be. And I would just to bring everyone's attention to, in particular, I think it's 2 and 4, whereby these particular recommendations are that have been approved, suggested and recommended to us by action groups like we have Yelm, Estrita Moor, who in particular want to know when it is assets are going to be fixed, what those assets are, and equally to empower those action groups in the way they connect within South West Water to affect change. And I feel that those are the two things which really provide the meat of these recommendations. We can obviously ask South West Water to come and meet us again, but these are the requests of which we want them to then act upon.
Yeah. Councillor Cooper, do you accept this amendment? Yeah, well, I want you to. Yeah, I'll come back to that, but I need you to accept it.
I don't think it adds anything. I think it takes away from the meat, which has just been explained. We did have quite a big debate at ONS about the CEO, whether or not we would add anything.
Yeah.
Is that a no?
That's a no. Is that a no?
Let's carry on the debate.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not the recommendation of our committee. So, kind of our committee, I think I can't accept it. So I'll let the council vote on it. But
thank you very much. Right, we carry on with the debate now. Yeah, on the amendment. This is Yes, Councillor Yardy.
I do actually agree with the amendment. However, I want to just be a little bit controversial. It's quite clear that there will be no change at South West Water unless there is a change of CEO, a change of culture. I think the regulator needs more teeth, needs more ability to be able to actually act. And if there should, to ensure that there will be an investment in our safety of our water supplies for the future, I think there may need to be some more radical understanding of how water industry is managed. However, that is not what is on the debate for today. Those are my questions at the meeting that we had with South West Water. They were not answered, obviously. I'm making the point here that I think there's a radical solution required. But I go along with the what's written on the slides.
Who we got now? Councillor Oram.
Thank you, Chairman. I just would like to speak to support the amendment. I have heard other members said that might not bring very much to the recommendation as a whole, but I honestly think that the more we try and pressure the CEO to come before us and other councils, that can only be a good thing. And if she continues to ignore our request to come here and answer our questions and the questions of our residents, then I would be minded at a further time to ask council to consider asking for her to step down entirely, because it's really not good enough. We have been palmed off time and time again by underlings who don't actually have all of the answers or don't feel as though they have the power to answer certain questions. So if the CEO can't come, then when this question comes back to full council at a later date, council can be confident that I will certainly put through a recommendation or an amendment that we call for her resignation with immediate effect. So, just speaking on this amendment, I would support it, and I would encourage other members to do the same.
Thank you very much. Anyone else want to join in the debate? No? Did you want to come back on this one, Mr. Bonham?
Well, thank you for the support that's been offered by other people. I can understand why the Deputy Chair of Overview and Scrutiny didn't accept it, because it's a recommendation from the committee itself. But I do hope that individuals can accept the amendment. And I just want to emphasise a couple of the words. What we're looking for is answers to valid questions about the state of our rivers and the water supply and the issues over cryptosporidium and so on, and the concerns in Kingsbridge that have been going on for more than a year now, that the public justifiably expect to hear, and we want answers quickly, completely, and with the full authority of the leadership of South West Water. That's what we've not had, and I think the CEO is probably the only person that can give the answers to that level of detail that we now expect, because clearly, as been stated, the more junior people have failed to do so on numerous occasions. So I hope the members can support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ben, would you like to come back? Sorry.
Apologies, it's just a technical question, really. Why do we not have the minutes of that ONS meeting to note today? Because it's obviously difficult to see the reasoning behind our recommendations without the minutes.
Through you, Chair, it'd be a timing issue in terms of getting the minutes turned around before the council agenda is published. So the meeting was the bulk of minutes the 17th of October when they came along, obviously in the agenda bundle. When there's specific recommendation debate on the 21st November, that was a week before the agenda was published for this meeting, less than a week. It was published last Wednesday. Just a timing issue, really.
You okay with that, Councillor Dennis? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand the timing issue. Just obviously makes it difficult for members to appreciate the lengthy discussion that we had in pulling together those recommendations and the reasons for not having a request for the CEO to come here. As you said, Councillor Bonham, individually I don't have an issue, but we did have a lengthy and thorough discussion about why not to include that. So but there we go.
Leader, would you like to?
Yeah. Just on that. I mean, because I have to say, I could tend to concur with what Chris said, and why I think we should keep the pressure on as much as possible. But I just, if Sam, I don't know if you, you were at that meeting. If you could tell us why you didn't want to invite the CEO, so that we'd understand what your reasoning behind it, so we can take a judgment on that.
Well, this is why I'd like to refer back to the minutes, which I'm going to have to watch the video again. But I think it was felt that the CEO may not necessarily know the answers, and actually what we were really interested in, and what I think Councillor Eady summed up earlier, was that we wanted to put the emphasis on item 2 and I think item 4, I can't remember what item 4 was. Those were the elements that, as a district council, we actually really had some power and some ability to affect change. So we deliberately were emphasising points 2 and points 4 because that's where we felt as a district council we had the ability to make a difference.
Thank you very much.
It's a very small point, but it may well be part of, maybe there's a little bit of sort of like, well, this wasn't coming from the ONS. My understanding is normally when a motion is referred or a recommendation comes from a committee, it just comes saying that, you know, it's the council supports the following recommendation. It wouldn't include the title Overview and Scrutiny Committee because we're amending it so it's no longer part of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee. And I think maybe that's where Councillor Cooper was kind of saying, well, it didn't come from us, so I can't accept the amendment. Whereas it's very normal to have amendments to motions that sit on that are tabled here. But I just think maybe it should, if it just come from executive, it would be recommendation 2. It doesn't say support the executive recommendation because it's no longer, once it's amended, it's no longer the overview and scrutiny recommendation. If you follow, it sort of doesn't quite sit together. It's not being picky. I'm just saying maybe that's what is slightly difficult in some of the agreement here, because we could just look at it, you know, for face value and agree or otherwise.
Subject to the addition of. That satisfies.
Yeah. I think we need to remember why this is before us. And I think at the last full council meeting, there was a report on the meeting between ONS and the SWW, and there was a request from the full council to ONS that they come back with a report to council together with recommendations for us as a whole council to discuss. And that in fact is what's happened. So in other words, this was discussed and debated at ONS, and I was there, and there were various members who were thinking that to make additions or amendments to this. I made the point at the meeting that it is going to come to full council for discussion and debate, and there may well be amendments, and that there would be an opportunity for members to make amendments, and that is what Councillor Bonham has done. So it's not as though we're veering away from the recommendation of ONS. They knew from the first instance that this was to be discussed and debated at this meeting, and so it is open for amendment, and that's why I support Councillor Bonham's amendment.
All right, Councillor Long.
Chairman, I can understand the sort of the questions and debates sort of around this, but I think I will be supporting the amendment, because if the CEO of South West Water cannot come to this council and answer the questions in paragraphs 2 and 4, then she shouldn't be there doing the job that she's doing. You know, it doesn't require somebody lower in the organisation to be able to respond to those questions. You know, if she doesn't know it exactly, she can be briefed to come in, but she should be able to respond to those. And I think it is beholden upon her to ourselves and the residents of the South Hams that she does this and that she can do this. And I think if she can't and doesn't want to, then I think what Councillor Oram has said, then she should step down from that role. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, it is one of these things where, I mean, I was at meetings when South West Water sent some representatives, and I mean that in a smallest possible sense, because they couldn't answer most of the questions that were asked, and that seems to be a bit of a fob off, to be honest, to my mind. And I think we've got to get some senior members of South West Water to attend. Otherwise, it's a pointless exercise.
Can I just say something?
Thank you.
Could I just ask Mr. White to scroll down to, because there have been several references to point 4, which isn't on the screen. So if you could just scroll down to point 4 so we know what that says.
If I read it for the purpose of the stream as well, Chair, it says that South West Water be asked to enhance their engagement with community action groups and parish councils to listen, take meaningful action, and share and rebuild trust on how our water is being managed.
Yeah, the question that's been asked of them for several years now, if I remember rightly. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Chair. I do think I'm mindful that there is something of a tightrope between applying the maximum pressure that we can to South West Water and not being accused of or falling into overreach of our powers and duties. I think that the original recommendations pretty much kept us on that tightrope. I don't think that the amendment takes us off it, so I will be supporting it, but I do think we should bear in mind that, you know, our powers and duties are defined in law, and whilst I would personally support a motion, you know, calling on the CEO of South West Water to resign, I'm not sure that it would necessarily have the desired effect.
Thank you very much. Any further questions on the amendment? Can I go back to Councillor Cooper to close this debate on the amendment, please?
Yeah, well, as the amendment is now, I'm happy to accept it. So, yeah, can I do that? Because you've changed it again. So it now reads as...
That's all right.
It now reads as it's not coming from us anymore. So
That's the advantage of living God over the dead. Lovely job. Thank you very much, Councillor Cooper. I need a seconder for that.
Does the seconder accept that?
Yeah. And the seconder accepts that, yeah? Lovely job. Thank you very much. So this is for the substantive motion. So do you just vote on the amendment now?
Any more debate?
Any more debate? Okay, Councillor Hawkins.
When we discussed with officers some probably 18 months ago now, asking South West Water to originally come to ONS, we were warned that we only had so many powers. And we all knew that. But the reason we asked them to come was because this is such an important issue for all of the residents, or the majority of the residents in the South Hams. I'm going to repeat what I said earlier on. They're just treating us with contempt by not actually answering the questions, which they assured us they would answer within a short period of time, is not acceptable. They know that their regulator, Ofwat or whatever they will be in the future, have limited powers, and that is the problem. If it was you or I as a normal resident or business, or perhaps even South Hams District Council, if we stepped out of line like they are continually doing, there would be penalties on them. And I would agree with the comment that if the CEO can't do her job properly, then yes, I would fully support that she has to resign.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I just say, because I've said this before at a similar meeting about the idea of soft power and what power we have as a district council. Yes, we don't have the ability to insist on South West Water to change their ways. But if we put a motion like this forward, and if other councils, district councils, put motions like this forward, if county council put motions like this forward, if our MPs get on the bandwagon and continue to put pressure on the CEO and the company at large, that's where the power grows. So, for members who are unsure about us overstretching our responsibilities, I would say to you that this is just one vertebrae in the spine that is going to get South West Water to change their ways and start listening to our residents. So, on that note, I will be supporting this recommendation, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Is there anyone else?
Yeah, I'm just mindful that, although I don't want it rewritten again, but we're talking about local residents, but they're also customers. You know, they pay money to this company. And I think maybe, perhaps in future, that needs to be stressed more. You know, they're not just our local residents that we're representing. They are customers of this company, and therefore, you know, there is an obligation of that company to serve those paying customers who have no other option You know, there is no other water company that they can choose. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Hancock.
I would just add to that comment that a customer who cannot but pay the charge to a service that they need for life is not a customer but a taxpayer.
Thank you very much. Any more comments?
Okay, I'll try and make it brief. My add-on is I understand that there's a new head of local government liaison called Alan Burrows. Okay, so he's just been put in position. We had a communication over the last couple of days, and I know he watches these committee meetings, these council meetings, so I would suggest that he reaches out and sorts out, answering the questions openly to us.
Thank you very much. He's probably the only one that applied for that job, I think. I don't think anybody else was. Yes, he probably is. Right, if there's no further comments or questions, we can move now to the vote on the substantive motion that's on the board. Okay, so we all in favour? This is for the total. No, the amendment was accepted. The motion was that was accepted.
Thank you, Chair.
Now.
That is unanimous for the 4 recommendations as amended and now the substantive motion. Thank you, Chair.
That was an excellent debate. We thought that was good. Well done, Councillor. Right, questions on notice?
None.
There is none. Motions on notice. One motion received. And that comes from Councillor Hodgson and Presswell. Would you like to bring it forward, please, Councillor?
Thank you. Yeah, I move the motion.
Thank you. Would you like to second that? Councillor Presswell? Yeah, seconded by Councillor Presswell. Why, Councillor?
Thank you. This motion sets out a position from our perspective about the waste collection services and investigating how we maybe could look at a different way of delivering our services. But really where it's been come from is the real struggle that I think we've all witnessed, particularly this summer. I mean, we've had it before with FCC, but even though we brought it back in-house and I think our officers have done a terrific job, there's still a struggle going on as to deliver those services. And I've talked to some of the guys on, just in my own street. My bins at the moment, for example, we're supposed to have, two green bins, 2 black lids, what I call the revolting seagull bag, the food caddy, and the black bin, and then potentially a brown bin too. And it's very difficult for people to accommodate that. At the moment, I've actually got 4 lids and 1 green bin, because that's the way it just ends up, and that's broken. And when I spoke to the guys, they said, "Oh, we'll just order a new one online." And I'm aware that we're spending a lot of money on those green bins. But it's not really that. It's more about the fact that a lot of people have really found it a struggle to manage all these different bins, some of them too big for people. Not everybody drinks a whole big green bin full of drink every couple of weeks, and etc. I'm not being smart here, but I think there's different ways that we could try and do something. I mean, we could look at ways of doing it for streets that have a shared bins. But I think it's that in itself would cause a lot more problems, and not every street's got a little spare, space that everybody would be happy to live next door to the bins, while people at the other end moan about them to carry their stuff towards it. So I looked around, and I'm aware that in London they just have 1 green bin, 1 green wheelie bin, like a nice strong bin that all the recycling goes into. 1 black bin. In fact, I think they're brown in London for the mixed, for the unrecyclable waste, and then a food caddy. And that seems to me potentially a lot less stuff on our streets, a lot less waste on our streets, a lot less mess, a lot less for people to have to deal with, a lot less bins that will get the first storm carries them all up everywhere else anyway. And I think it would be a lot tidier. And I'm not looking for this overnight. We've just, agreed to spend a lot of money on new recycling vehicles, which are quite complex and expensive in themselves. But I do think we should be looking at how this is working and whether it's the system that's wrong, because I think there are flaws in the system. And I think part of that as well is the fact that if you look at the guys when they come and do collect the recycling, nearly every bottle is being handled separately, because they have to go through a little sort of, post-it system. And it just strikes me that must be one of the most tedious jobs, and it may be part of the problem we have with recruitment and keeping staff. Because if you're doing that on a wet day, it's no joke handling glass, albeit with gloves or whatever. So I feel that it's like we've got, technology is there, mechanism is there. MRFs have been around a long time. I know some people aren't fans of MRFs and say, oh, they're disgusting. But actually, if you're separating out the recycling, people have got quite used to, putting out the recycling and putting it out reasonably clean. And, the MRFs these days are very high tech. They've got a lot of good stuff in them. They are expensive. They're very expensive. And I had a conversation with Steve Molyneux 2 or 3 weeks ago about this. And, he was saying, well, if we were to look at that, we'd have to look at it maybe with our neighbouring authorities, maybe Teignbridge and West Devon, to have a shared MRF. But that would also spare some of our carbon footprint, because all these vehicles going around up and down, and when one of the potholes is full, it has to go back and empty anyway, although that has been largely overcome. But I do feel that we're actually losing a lot of customer support because people aren't happy with the service. And we've got problems in the high streets that could be cleaned up if we just had much simpler ways of collecting the waste and taking it, that way, rather than all this time that's spent filling up those portholes. So this is where this has come from. I'm very open to kind of, other people having all sorts of views on this. But I'm just really asking if we could have a small task and finish group to actually investigate and see what it might look like if we did it different, and see whether in the long run it would save us not only money, but also a lot of our reputation, because we seem to be listening to some of the customers who are struggling with this, and maybe even make more customers in terms of our commercial services too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hodgson. Councillor Cresswell, would you like to come back now or later?
No, I've just 3 points really to support what Councillor Hodgson has said, that it would be a much more sustainable process, Ray, regards staffing and possible sickness. Yes, extraordinary initial outlay, but that would be reduced if we do share with other authorities, but considerable long-term savings, which I think need to be considered. And efficiency in sudden increased quantities, such as Christmas, as well as the reduction in emissions from the vehicles, which obviously will have an effect regards climate change. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Panel.
Yeah, I'm conversing with my son lives in Surrey, and when we visit him, they have 2 large bins, one for dirty waste and one for all the recycling. Can I suggest that if we are going to have a task and finish group to do this, we need to do it before we place the order for the new recycling vehicles? In which case, we might be waiting another 9 years before we actually bring it in. But I think we need to be aware of that. Yeah.
Councillor Brazil.
Yeah, can I just assure members that we're not replacing the new recycling vehicles? It will be the old dust carts that we're replacing. So so you don't need to worry about it. It's not the curb recycling. No. So that. Can I just say overall that I really welcome this motion. I think it's absolutely right that we should be looking at our core services about how we possibly could do them differently. I think, as Jackie's already said, I think the appreciation is that the capital outlay for something like this is far too great for this as an individual council. And just to say that I've got the Devon Districts Forum tomorrow morning, and number 1 on the agenda is some kind of pan Devon collection service. I think it's something that has been, I think the county have been remiss in not pushing forward these kind of ideas, and it's fallen upon the districts now to try and bring this about. And that would very much feed into what you're talking about, sort of working in partnership with adjoining authorities. So I'm not quite sure what the mechanism for a task. I think the idea of a task and finish is excellent. My one caveat would be on that is that I think that the members if our members are members of the task and finish, is that the onus is very much on the members to do a lot of the heavy shifting, and that we can't pull out management from other areas. So and I'm not quite sure that the mechanism of set. I mean, does the council set up task and finish, or would we have? We could use the waste working, but I would like it to be extended to people who have a passion about waste and that aren't just turning up to. I know it's not very glamorous, but where there's muck, there's brass. And I don't know what the mechanism of setting up the task and finish group is, whether it's come through this or Jonathan's ONS. But either way, I think it should be. And like I said, members of that task and finish group should realise that they are very much the driving forces behind it. And it's not just a case of turning up and looking at a paper presented by Steve or Sarah or whoever. So I'm very happy to support this motion.
Could I bring a leader in on this? Oh,
no, I'm not a leader.
No, a chief exec. he might be a chief exec soon if he's lucky. No. A chief exec, sorry.
The leader has just spoken, Chairman,
yes.
thank you. Waste is an executive function, so it would be entirely within the remit of the executive to listen to the debate today, Chairman, and for the executive to set up such a body to do that. And my recommendation would be that, the principles here are really clear. I think what we need is a relatively quick initial feasibility. There's plenty of evidence of how these things work across the country. We can very quickly get enough facts and information to understand the basics of what the cost would be, what the lead-in period would be, and then if the executive wished to set up a task and finish group leader, that would be possible. We could bring that paper back to that. In the meantime, we can carry on the discussions with other Devon districts, as you indicated yesterday.
Thank you very much, Chief Exec. Councillor Birch.
Yeah, I'm just going to follow through on what the Chief Executive mentioned, is that I think the way forward is for initially the officers to come up with a proposal for taking this forward, and that proposal, together with any supporting documentation, be put to the executive, and for the executive then to determine the way forward, which may include a task and finish group or a request to ONS. So I think the way forward is to, in the first instance, that a report be prepared with and that it pass to the executive to determine the way forward.
Yeah, Mr. Molyneux's getting very excited about this. He's keeping his head well down. Councillor Bonham.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I broadly support the idea, and I do think it makes sense. But I also think we should start by appreciating the hard work and effort that's been put in to get the existing system up and running, and the enormous effort over the past couple of years to deliver a combined waste and recycling, or separate waste and recycling service, which I actually think is working pretty well. So I'm not sure I'm convinced in my own mind that we need to change based on the poor operation that's been implied. I doubt that, but it makes sense to review our systems and our operation from time to time, because we can always improve. And I think if we are going to look at this, in addition to thinking about whether it might save us money, we should also bear in mind whether it will more positively affect the residents and the cleanliness of our streets and their ease of disposing of their rubbish, and also our goal of increasing recycling rates, which seems to be missing from this motion. Perhaps those proposing it might consider that as an addition, or that be included in the scope for any task and finish group when that does come to a head, because I think it's important that we continually focus on the recycling rates. And just lastly, I think if we can include the commercial waste and add recycling stream into that, it would possibly be a significant benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Mr. Molyneux. I think you wanted to speak up.
Yes, thank you. I'm really excited, Councillor Taylor. I would say thank you, Councillor Bonham, for your kind words. I think my only observation, I was going to talk about recycling rates, and one of the significant differences between what Councillor Hodgson said about sort of cities and Surrey and so on like that is the actual level of recycling. Some of the inner cities are still only recycling sort of 21% of their waste, and we are at 51% now. So when we look at the difference in terms of systems, the system that we currently use is currently driving recycling behaviour. So we shouldn't discount that. Having said that, Councillor Hodgson is quite right that MRF facilities have become much more sophisticated, and they were always seen as dirty recycling, but actually they're getting better at getting rid of the damaged recycling, or effectively the not usable recycling, and that technology is improving all the time. And I wholeheartedly agree with what Councillor Brazil says. This needs to be a Devon-wide approach. So I would support all of those things.
Much. I need to go to Councillor Oram.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Bonham did take some of my steam there by sort of paying tribute to the waste team and all the good work that they have done over the past couple of years on this issue. And just also to say that I support the motion in principle. However, I am maybe lucky or unlucky, I don't know, to sit on both the Overview and Scrutiny and the Audit and Governance Committee. And what I can tell members is that there are quite a few task and finish groups going on at the moment. I'm just concerned with the workload that members are under at the moment, and just wonder whether the proposer and seconder has an idea of timeline on when they would like this piece of work to begin, because I really wouldn't want to put too much pressure on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, because, as I say, there's quite a lot of task and finish groups currently in operation. So I just want that to be noted as well, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Councillor Steele.
Yes, so just to back up the point about recycling rates, and yes, we are good at 51%, but that obviously means 1 in 2 people aren't using their green bins and seagull sacks. So yes, I think that should be part of it, is whatever system we might look at using is how to encourage residents, customers, taxpayers to take advantage of the recycling that we offer.
Okay, anyone else? Councillor Birch.
Yeah, I'd like to propose an amendment to the motion, which is effectively an addition and picking up the points made by the Chief Executive. So to add to the motion the following: in the first instance, a report be put before the Executive Committee for it to determine the way forward. I'll repeat that. In the first instance, a report be put before the Executive Committee for it to determine the way forward.
Thank you. The seconder on that, Councillor Oram.
I'm happy to accept that. That's fine.
Thank you very much.
I approve. I accept.
Yeah, yeah. I just put a word in your mouth. That's all. Saves a lot of aggravation. Lovely job. Right, Councillor Hodgson, would you like to come in on the finalise this debate?
I thank everybody for their comments, and just to pick up on what Councillor Bonham said, there was in my tabling this, there was no intention to cast any aspersions on the waste team. They've done a fantastic job, and they know that I think that. And you know, I did make that point when I was first speaking, but yeah, I'll just emphasise it again because they've had a really tough job. against all sorts of difficulties, and I think they've, we've had a service that certainly extremely acceptable by any standards. But as I said earlier, I think it's about the system, and I think separating all our recycling out in the street is part of the problem. It can be, hopefully, maybe the review might show that we're doing the best, but the review might also show that there's something else we could be aiming towards. So thank you for the positive noises, and I hope everybody will support the motion as amended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, are you happy with the wording and everything? Lovely job. Thank you. Just make sure, because otherwise, man on my right, or somebody might come back with some problems with that. Right. I think we can now move into the vote on this one. So, everybody in favour of this motion?
Thank you, Chair. That is unanimous, as updated as per the screens. Thank you.
If I may just say, Chair, I will actually bring this to County Council. I did raise it a couple of weeks ago at the Corporate Infrastructure Scrutiny Committee, and Meg Booth, who's the Director of Services for Infrastructure, came back on me and said, no, that's a district matter. But my answer was, actually, we have the DASWIC, and the DASWIC committee, as Julian and I both attend from time to time, doesn't really look at some of these things which we could be looking at, is how we could share across our boundaries to advantage, because I mean, Exmouth, for example, is doing much higher rates of recycling than we are. So I think there's ways to look at, we don't have to look terribly far for some good example that we can bring into our considerations.
Thank you very much indeed. Just for me to say thank you all very, very much for your attendance, and I wish you all very Merry Christmas. Not too merry, I hope. Next full council meeting is on Thursday, the 13th of February. So that can be put in your diaries, and don't forget. And thank you for everyone that's replied and attending the council dinner next Wednesday night, I believe it is. And don't forget, it's a fairly laid-back job, so you can all wear Christmas jumpers and Christmas skirts if you want to. I was talking about the ladies now, not the men.
Don't be discriminatory.
There will be a there will be a prize. there will be a prize for the best jumper and the best dress. So that's fine.
And with the budget meeting,
We got the budget briefing
workshop.
now.
Yeah, we got
Usual gavel.
Yes.
Thank you. We're trying to. We haven't finished quite yet. I haven't closed it. But yes, in a minute we got another meeting, so we're going to have a 10-minute break. Where we resume at probably about 20 to 12, something like that. If everybody's happy with that, and on that, I will close the meeting. Thank you very much.